in sports, and especially like football, baseball, basketball, there's specific coaches that get referred to as the quote-unquote portal king. I don't think that anybody, and I mean anybody, can say that Jay Johnson in and of himself is not the portal king. He gets a big-time commitment today from Luis Hernandez. We'll talk about that one here tonight. Jay Johnson also met with the media. He had a lot of things that he said. We're going to break down 3 of them, the 3 most significant things to me, maybe 4 because of the Paul Mainieri thing, and that was officially announced today that he's going to be the next head coach of South Carolina. So a lot of portal talk, maybe another player that could be hitting the transfer portal from LSU. So Jay even said today that they're going to have to bring in a lot of guys. The roster turnover could be significant. It's going to be one of our points here tonight. So lots and lots and lots to get to when it comes to LSU's baseball team. Also, we'll talk about some of the guys that we are hearing already this summer that are doing and looking really good for LSU football. Because, guys, look, here's the truth. In less than 60 days, we're going to be out there for fall football camp. I'm really excited for that. Excited for it to be here and for us to get rolling with that. So I'll give you some things that we're hearing there as well. I'll give you a write-up tomorrow morning on our website, ayssnetwork.com/forum. So a lot to get into tonight. Look, we are jam-packed. High atop, as our good friend Josh Pate said, the beautiful Hammond, Louisiana, here tonight. But lots and lots of things that we need to get into. Also, Paxton Kling entered the portal after we got off the show last night, or officially last night. It's ironic. We did talk about him last night before Carter Bryant joined us, which you can catch the clip with Carter. It was like close to an hour. He was somebody that we mentioned that to be on the lookout for. We put it on our website there as well, too. We'll talk about him. Look, I think that Jay has, told some guys to move on. I also think that there's going to be a big recruiting weekend for Jay. We'll start to give you some names there. So lots and lots and lots to get to. Oh, and it's a Tuesday. So hashtag Ask Blake. Thoughts, questions, concerns. You can put them inside the Rudy Crew chat at the end of the show, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. Kevin says, Blake, let's go. You the man. Good to have you in here, Kevin. I hope I am the man. Most of the times I feel like people are bitching at me, but here we are. Here we are. Thank you for being here, man. Rick says on YouTube, let's get this thing rolling, y'all. Yeah, we'll be getting this thing rolling in just a minute. Lance says, what it do, Blake? Tell me something good. We'll tell you something good in a little bit, especially after the break. So glad you're in here with us, Lance. Good to see you. Moy says, what's up, Blake? Checking in from Wiesbaden, Germany. Let's go. Good to have you here all the way in Germany. What time is it over there in Germany? Spectrum Wellcare says, is Hernandez a draft risk? He is. Luis Hernandez is a draft risk. Some things that I've picked up. Do I think if he gets drafted, he goes? Guys, it all depends on what the money is for him. I don't know. Is he a draft risk? Yes. Can Jay, obviously Jay sold him on being here. Can Jay keep him here? So I feel confident. I do feel confident at the current moment. At least LSU feels confident that he'll be a Tiger next year. But is he a draft risk? Yes, and we'll have to monitor that. We'll have to monitor that. He's not the only one that we'll have to monitor. I really think that we're gonna have to monitor Griffin Herring. I think we got to monitor Bear Jones. You could have a massive turnover. Michael Braswell. So many things that we got to that we're going to have to monitor for the draft. Rick says Nash Vegas, Music City in the house. Always good to have Nashville in here. Greg says on Facebook, Jay Johnson is hard at work, but wait, there's more. There will be more. He doesn't have a choice. Because he legitimately doesn't have a choice. So, yeah, there's going to be a lot more. A lot more. Tyler Townsend, he's always in the 318, says, let's go. Jay Johnson said, Gator, don't play. No shit. Yes, what a great movie. It ain't ever been about that. Data ain't ever been about that. Ingrid King says, how many are you donating to Jello shots? I saw that. So here's the thing. Ingrid, I'm not going to donate any Jello shot money this year like we did last year. I think it's a money grab for them. I mean, all of it's a money grab, and I get it. Why would we do that? I mean, I think that they want to make up the same amount of money that they did last year. They're not going to, like, guys, LSU not being there kills the Jello shot competition for them. I'm not buying any. For what? I'm not doing it. David Bogan says it's 2 a.m. in Germany, 7-hour time difference. How about that? Wow. So I guess Moist is staying up until 2 a.m. Gotta love your Tigers to stay up to 2 a.m. You know what I would have done? I would have gone to sleep and listened to it in the morning. That's what I would have done. Rick says Paxton was a great center fielder, but took a lot of third strikes with the bat on his shoulder. And not only that, I think he's got a lot of holes in his swing. I just don't think that the SEC is for him. That's not a knock. I mean, it's not for a lot of people. Then he's got to go somewhere. Look, I say the SEC isn't for him. Watch him go to South Carolina. Who knows? I doubt he does, but who knows? Brandon Reese says it's good that Jay Johnson got a good hitter in the portal day. 100%. 100%. Matt D says Leah has good talent. 2 more years. What am I missing with that? Chris Lomax says, we don't care what other people say about you. We all know you're the best at your job. Well, thanks, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, a lot of people give me shit. Stephen Fry, good friends over at Fry Construction. You got to go over there, land and dirt services, site work, oil and gas services, commercial construction, aggregate and soil hauling, waste containers, demolition. They do it all. 337-457-5100 over there in Eunice, Louisiana. Tell him your good friend Blake sent you on by. But he says, bring them out. Hashtag transfer portal. I do think that Jay is not done. I do think that this weekend we're going to get a lot more clarity. I think we're going to get a lot more clarity on maybe some things in reference to not only baseball, but football. So it's going to be a big weekend for us on the site. You got to be patient, man. Everybody's like, oh, when's this happening? Guys, I can't force things to happen. I just, sometimes you got to wait, and sometimes coaches tell you not to say shit. It's funny, when this Luis Hernandez thing went down today, they were like, Blake, how did you, as soon as it happened, you tweeted it out. And I'm like, yeah, you think that we don't have those things preloaded? You don't think that those things aren't preloaded just to hit send? You think I'm typing all of that out as we go? Get the fuck out of here. Get out of here. Anyway. All right, a couple more, then we'll get rolling. Trey says, Blake, very interesting and saying Jay said in his press conference, I can't build a program now. I have to build a team. That's where college athletics are. So that is going to be that's going to be our second point in reference to Jay Johnson missing our meeting with the media. So look, we got 3 big ones. Okay. And I say 3, we'll probably talk about 4 because about the Paul Maneri thing, but there are 3 main parts that I thought that if you know Jay well enough, and all of you do, that things that are concerning to him, if you listen to Jay enough, he will give you exactly what's going on. He's not going to give it to you on a silver platter, but we'll go through those things tonight. This one is one of them in reference to the 1 year, like you just got to build the team 1 year to the next. And I agree. Excuse me. I agree with that. Look who it is. Our good friend Tyler Alexander over at LPT Realty. He knows this. He said, I can confirm that those things are preloaded. Yeah. Quick story. This is and Tyler will 1,000% back me up on this because this happened. Me, Tyler, and a buddy of ours, or as the Italians would say, a friend of ours, we were sitting at, where were we at? Walk-Ons and Denham or somewhere. And we were eating and we're all sitting there up at the bar. And Tyler asked, he goes, hey man, who's going to be the next pitching coach? So I show him the preloaded thing. He goes, and about Nate Yeskie. He goes, oh, that's done. I'm like, 100% done. They've told us not to run it, whatever. And so literally I showed him that. Text comes through saying, hey, it can be run now about Yeskie. Boom, boom. So you got to have them preloaded, man. Got to have them preloaded. All right, let's get rolling. Everybody do us a favor by hitting the like and share. Share to all those groups. If you are on Facebook, share to all of your social media pages. You're watching us, listening to us on YouTube. Like, subscribe, notification bell, wherever you listen to podcasts. Rate, review, and subscribe. You know, I say this every single week. It feels like I get a 1-star review somewhere on the audio podcast. I don't know why people are so mad. It's not like, I'm sorry that, the audio side's doing so well. Do me a favor if you have a time or a chance. Go over to Apple. Go to RU Series Sports. If you don't mind leaving us a review there, leave in a comment. We would greatly appreciate it if you did that for us today. All right, let's get rolling. Let's talk about our good friends at betonline.ag, the man that was just in the comments. Tyler Alexander, who is right here, says facts, crying, laughing emoji. See? People think I be in here lying. I'm not lying to you. We'll talk about him. Y'all got to get over to my man, Tyler. Let me tell you something this too. Guys, the market is insane right now in real estate. How can you not see? It's everywhere. This dude is like killing it right now. If you need your home sold, okay, like all the reviews of everybody that he sold homes for or somebody was looking for a home and he found them one, it's exactly what they were looking for, just call him. See what he's got up for you. A conversation's never going to hurt. You can call him, and we'll talk about our good friends over at J&J Exterminating. Lots to get into. Baseball, football, we do that next. Stay with us. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way for you to wager on all of your favorite sports, contests, events with the first-to-market odds and lines. Find reviews for all the news for each league, including Major League Baseball, NFL, NBA, NHL, combat sports, college sports, esports, and even golf. BetOnline continues to be the top online resource for all of your sports information for live in-game betting, props, and futures. Head on over to BetOnline today and use your mobile device to join and make your first sports bet. Use our promo code BELIEVE50, that's BELIEVE50, BLEAV 50, to receive your 50% off welcome bonus on your first deposit. That's betonline.ag, betonline.ag.
He will sell your house and find you a new. Well, Tyler's the man, he's here for you. If you want to buy or sell, well, it's not too late. Dial 955-0008. Just call 955-0008. Y'all call Tyler, he'll shoot you straight.
Louisiana is unique. The food, the festivals, even the bugs. No, not mud bugs. Unwanted bugs like these. The ones you don't want crawling in your home or business. Trust the Shield from J&J Exterminating. We've been protecting Louisiana homes for over 50 years, earning the trust of our clients because we deliver what we promise. Protect your home from pests. Get the Shield from J&J Exterminating.
J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
We're back. Tell me if you don't think Luis Hernandez is locked in. My man is like going all over social media when it comes to him being committed to LSU. Let's see what happens in the draft. Anything can happen, so we'll see. Before we get rolling, Jamie on YouTube says, watching from the hospital in New Orleans, My wife delivered triplets today, 2 boys and a girl. Holy moly. Jamie, first off, prayers up to you in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost. Secondly, your wife is an outright just beast when it comes to what she just did. Women are amazing. You know, my wife gave birth to 2 of our children. I could not imagine triplets. Congrats, man. That is absolutely incredible. Absolutely just amazing. Golly, congrats to you, man. 2 boys and a girl. That girl's going to run the household. I'm just telling you, the girl's going to run the household. 100% the girl will run the house up. That is for sure. All right, let's get rolling. Got lots of things to talk about. So Jay Johnson met with the media today for about 45 minutes in what might have been, in my opinion, and Jay has given a lot of big-time interviews, big-time press conferences. I'm not saying this is one of his biggest or best, but today Jay Johnson laid out exactly where LSU baseball stands and where college baseball and just college sports in general stand. And in that 45 minutes, Jay talked about what I believe 3 massive points. And we're going to break them down. We'll go for, because, he was asked about the Texas job and he was asked about Paul Mainieri, which we'll start off with here. But let's get to these points here. Let's start off with just the obvious. We talked about it last night with Jay in Texas. Jay was asked if he was in consideration from the Texas job. I do think that, he's keeping things close to the vest. I like we had talked about last night, I find it very awkward that Texas has not fired their head coach and are already looking for someone else. Normally, when you're on a coaching search or in a coaching search, you're going to fire your head coach before you make a move. Some people have said they're going to do it in the same day. It would be very ironic and weird if they did that. But Jay was asked today about the Texas job, in which he said, I've not talked to him. I'm not talking to him. And he ended it by saying there's only one LSU, which I think gave LSU fans the confidence that he's not going anywhere. And I think he's right. And look, to Scott Woodward's credit and to LSU's credit in general, they have invested and done a lot of things and put a lot of things in motion that Jay has wanted. The indoor baseball facility, I think, is going to get rolling. I think the bullpens not being on the field is something 100% that has already been announced that are going to be moved. I think that a lot of things that Jay has been requesting that they are going to give to him. And I think he wants to be here. I do agree with him. I do believe him, when he says when he grew up, this is the place that he wanted to be. It's tough to sell. Now, look, opportunities and money are a crazy thing. But he did say, and in so many words, said that he is not leaving. He also was asked about Paul Mainieri. And in those conversations, Jay said that, look, Paul called him last night, that he was very grateful to what Paul had done for him and kind of transferring power and the reins over, and that he was grateful. And he never had really thought about competing against Paul. Well, it was announced today and official today that Coach Mainieri is going to be the next head coach of South Carolina. They're keeping Monty Lee there on staff. Terry Rooney was announced, and the third assistant, I forget his name off the top of my head, from Virginia. I don't know how y'all felt, but Jay, it kind of felt like Jay congratulated him, said that he still is a highly competitive person and that he wanted back in the game, and he has every right to do that. They're going to face off next year. And I think it's going to be one of the more crazy weekends that we've had in baseball, because Paul will be in the other dugout. He doesn't look good in red, meaning Coach Mainieri. Look, it just continues to go down the path in reference to, I don't think Paul wanted to be out. I don't think he wanted to be out as LSU's head coach. I think when the opportunities presented himself, Notre Dame, Miami, whatever, he would have gone there if it was the right opportunity for him. He didn't. And when South Carolina came up, the opportunity came up, he took it. And Paul, more than being hired today, had a massive win and what appears that Ethan Petrie is going to be staying in South Carolina. So Jay did touch on that. The biggest news in that is that, look, I'm not – coaches are weird when it comes to coaching carousel, what they do give you, what they don't give you. He did say that the first person he would talk to would be Scott Woodward. Smart. And he said, it's in my contract to talk to Scott Woodward if they talk to me. And they hadn't. Okay. I don't know if I believe that that Jay may have not talked to Texas. I would assume that his agent has. You know, Jay didn't say that they didn't reach out to my agent. He said, I have not talked to them. When they say that, he's not lying. But I just, like I said yesterday, it's hard for me to believe. And if he does, I will backtrack and say that I was wrong, but they're just the things that I'm hearing at the current moment. He's just not going to go anywhere. I'm glad that it was addressed. I'm glad that it was brought up. I'm glad that he ended it. At least I think that he ended it. It felt like he ended it. So I'm glad that he did that today. But there were three big points that I thought Jay talked about going into next year and talking about his 2025 team that I think that, look, you can't walk away from the press conference today and not take these three out. These are in no specific order. They're in, you know, like you're going to say, well, Blake thought that this was the biggest. It doesn't matter. It's just the way that everything flowed, and I wrote everything down in what he said. The first thing that I thought that Jay brought up was in reference to Griffin Herring and this starting pitching. Obviously, he said that Griffin Herring's not only one of the best pitchers that he had last year, he's one of the best pitchers that he's had as a head coach, and that he would 100% be a weekend rotation guy going into next year. He added on to that about Chase Shores being up to 97 miles an hour and also having a really good slider that him and Nate Yeske had been working on. It's interesting because I don't know what happens with Griffin Herring, who is a draft-eligible sophomore. You know, how highly or up those boards is he? Does he want to come back and get himself firmly into that first round? But I do think if you are able to hold on to Griffin Herring, if Chase Shores does come back to where he was as a freshman, guys, you potentially do have a Friday, Saturday night guy in those or guys in those two right there. Are there other guys that you potentially need to go get? 100%. And I'm not saying that you don't. Not saying at all that you don't. But if things do go LSU's way, and if Griffin does want to come back and Chase Shores comes back, guys, you do have some really good arms that you can go into next year. It might be, I don't know how I want to say this other than it might be a little bit of a pipe dream to think that Griffin Herring could come back. I don't know. I don't know where he's going to get drafted. I don't know the money that's going to be put in front of him. But what I do know is that Jay Johnson, the passion that he had about Griffin Herring today, you cannot convince me because Jay is, very calm in press conferences. If you watch him enough, and I know that a lot of you do, when he gets fired up, when he's that passionate about something or someone, he's going to go balls to the wall in reference to keeping a guy here if they're not in the top 50 picks, which he also brought up. Look, if Griffin Herring's in the top 50 picks, he's going to get a lot of money. That he is going to, in his words, he says, I'm going to be an ambassador for them to get to the next level if they're that highly drafted. I don't know if Griffin is. And if he's not, then you get to a place in a situation where, guys, you're going to, from a talent basis alone, pure talent, let's just, for hypothetical sake, say that Griffin Herring can come in and be a Friday night guy. Is Chase Shores a guy that you can work back into? I mean, guys, people that throw consistently 97, 98 after having Tommy John and working on a really good slider, where will Chase Shores be? Do I think you need to add some more arms? Yeah. I think it's a good place and cornerstone and foundation to build off of if you're able to keep that here. Everything is going to dictate itself after the draft. where guys go, where guys stay. That's when you're going to make your ultimate decision about how you build your team and roster. We're very early in this process of if guys are going to go, if guys are going to stay. But I feel the conviction in the tone that Jay used today, the confidence of the cornerstone of those two guys in a potential return. To add on to that, Jay's comment in reference to, okay, Griffin Herring being one of the best pitchers that he's ever had is a very big statement. A very big statement. Guys, you realize that he's putting him in a pedestal with guys like Ty Floyd. He's putting him in a pedestal of guys not like Paul Skeens, but he's in that top 5. When you say he's one of the best pitchers I've ever coached, guys, that's very big. Can LSU be competitive with NIL? I think that if there's one player Jay really wants to return, is it Griffin Herring? Guys, I really feel that. I feel that conviction. It's going to be interesting. I don't know. And I will be the first to tell you that I don't know. The draft is a very weird thing. You know, a guy could in the second round can make more money than, or a guy in the third round can make more money than a guy in the second round. I think it's all backwards. Okay, but we'll see. I think the second thing that Jay mentioned, which is probably the most crucial thing that he said today, was in reference to how he's got to build his team. Now, I'm going to paraphrase because I'm not going to give an in-out quote, but Jay said, look, I prided myself on building programs from the ground up. And what he means by that, freshman classes, even just going in the portal a little bit, but building classes up, having talent upon talent, like what Saban used to do, what Urban used to do, and what Kirby's currently doing and putting it in football context. Today, I could feel the stress from Jay Johnson because he said, look, there's a potential that I'm going to have 5 guys drafted. There's a potential I'm going to have 11 guys drafted. By the way, I had 13 last year. You have a roster of 25. And the biggest statement that he made was that, guys, I'm just going to have to build a roster year upon year and go that route. That's the new age that we're in. And Jay going into the portal the way that he is, and even with the news that we'll talk about that he got today from Luis Hernandez, is a very big deal. But it's the reality of where college baseball is. It's the sport where I do think that the portal is the most entertaining of any sport. I also think it could be the most stressful because Jay has no idea. Like in football, you have a pretty good idea of the guys that are going to be leaving you and that you got to battle for. In baseball, you have no clue. And really and truthfully, even of the age, guys, Griffin Herring is a draft-eligible sophomore. Bear Jones is a draft-eligible sophomore. Those are 2 big-time cornerstone pieces that if this were a football team, you would legitimately have them back next year because it's a 3-year window. Does Bear Jones return? Does Griffin Herring return? Does Michael Braswell return? There are a lot of things that are up in the air. But I agree with him. I don't know how you don't go into a season not saying to yourself, we got to build it for this year and this year alone. Now, what happened is fans said, oh, well, he's not building for the future. Guys, that's complete horseshit. He is. He's going to continue to build through high school recruiting. What he's saying is, guys, if I have 15 people consistently leaving me, or I say 15, but with the portal and active departures that he will have, and not only those departures, but guys that get drafted, you could have 2/3 of your roster that gets turned over in a blink of 2 weeks, 3 weeks, a month. And that is very difficult. Guys, the roster is going to be turned. I think the roster will be completely turned over at least at minimum by half from the portal and guys that will get drafted. There's a strong possibility that nobody in your starting rotation this year, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, will be there. And I don't know what Thatcher Hurd's going to do. I think that he comes back. But I don't know. Does he want to make a move? I don't know. But the biggest thing is talking about, I got to build it for a 1-year run. What Jay is really saying is, and the way that I felt was pretty simple. I think he's about to go out here and destroy the portal. I think he's told guys to leave that he don't think they can play here. I think he's told guys that, look, man, if you're going to come back, you have nothing guaranteed to you because we have guys like Ashton Larson and Jake Brown, and he's warning them in the media today. When he's warning his entire outfield. I mean, him talking about Jake Brown only scratching the surface in center field the night before Paxton Kling hits the portal. Do you really think that conversation wasn't had? That he would not play here? He would not start here anymore because Jake Brown has arrived? Yeah. Yes. 100%. I felt the stress and I felt the realness of him hitting the portal, which clearly he did. And we'll talk about that in a minute. The third thing that Jay mentioned in today's press conference that I thought was interesting, or a third note. And I don't even know if this is going to go over. Maybe I misinterpreted it, and this is, I don't know. It could have been tied into the first thing we said, I guess. But Jay Johnson, when asked about this place, in talking about the regional and talking about North Carolina, guys, can you convince me that there's anybody more passionate right now than him? That has more fire in their belly than him? Jay was asked today about the regional in not so many words. And he said, look, man, I will never forget what happened in North Carolina. I'll never forget how you had freshmen stepping up the way that they did. I think it kills him that he didn't compete for a super regional. I think it kills him. I've seen some chatter out there in reference to, hey, what's the realistic nature about the 3 years that Jay has been here? Guys, I think it's been completely more than fine. I think it's been pretty freaking good. Borderline great. Now, the 2 regional appearances, I get what people are saying, but I think that he is going to build something great here. And Jay has never met with the media this long, and I think that he wanted to hit on a lot of points. Him being at LSU, I think, was the massive one. So, look, when somebody is that hurt, okay, about it, and ultimately it was the decision he made. And the comment that he made was, guys, we're 2 outs away from hosting a super regional in the box. I could tell in his face that killed him. It busted him up to know that they were 2 outs away from being back to a super regional. And not only a super regional, but being in a super regional in the box. You know, in year 1, Jay was 17-13 in conference. Georgia was 17-13 in the conference this year and hosted a regional and super regional. So not hosting a regional in year 1, which Paul Maneri left him no ace, left him no guys in the weekend rotation to start on Friday. Guys, Mikael Hilliard was your best starter. Ty Floyd was on that team, but Ty was still very young. Shoved against Southern Miss, though. Look, man, I think that Jay is showing how much he wants to be here. And I think that that's something that we take for granted. I think that that's something that we overlook. I think that that's something that, you know, for whatever reason, and this is the point that I want to get to, for whatever reason, I think Jay has taken some unfair criticism. Honestly, I think that people have told Jay what they think he needs to be doing because they coach their son's t-ball team or you coach a softball team. Guys, this year was not a bad year. Like I told you, if they would have gotten to a super regional or if they would have won the regional in Chapel Hill, everything else beyond that, for me, with this team, would have been lanyard. You can't replace that many guys and not have some bumps in the road. The fact that they went 3-12 in conference and turned everything around and got to a regional is a hell of a job. So you got to give them that. All right. Jay also got some big news. Let's talk about some baseball portal news here for just a quick second. So last night we talked about Paxton Kling and Paxton hitting the portal. We put it on our message board yesterday about 3:00. I put it out there and said, basically on our forum, don't be surprised if Paxton Kling hits the portal. I'm hearing some things. I'm waiting for him to officially go in, but I feel pretty confident that Paxton was going into the portal. Here's what I know about him. Look, I don't think it shocks anybody that he entered the portal because of, look, he was somebody that a lot of people thought could replace Dylan Cruz. He's highly athletic. He was a really good defender. Got a lot of speed. It just didn't go that way for him. And I think he got beat out by a freshman in Jake Brown. And I don't think he was going to play here. I don't know if he needs to go to a lower conference. And not only a lower conference, maybe a mid-major. Because the ACC is not a joke in baseball. Right? Like, guys, the ACC's got – the SEC has 4 teams in Omaha. The ACC has 4. Like, that's not a joke. But I do think he's got to go to a mid-major. I think that he has a lot of ability and he has a lot of tools. He's a highly athletic kid. I like him a lot. I think he's a really good kid. I don't think that there's any coach that has been around Paxton Kling the last 2 years who wouldn't tell you that he's a great teammate. They wouldn't tell you that they would tell you just how great of a locker room guy that he is. I just don't think he can play here. And then that conversation was had. So today it was announced officially that he had entered the portal. Not surprising. Like I mentioned yesterday, we put it on the forum. You need to get over there. You need to get over to the message board, ayssnetwork.com/forum. I hate it, and it stinks because when you have to live up to the legacy of a guy like Dylan Cruz and you fall the way that he did, you are relying on him. Guys, he was the opening day start. He was not only an opening day starter, he was the opening leadoff guy. And it just did not go well for him. And I thought he had a decent fall. Didn't have a good fall, had a decent fall. But spring rolls around and he couldn't get anything going. And that's why he got replaced. And he's not more talented than the guys in that outfield and on your roster right now. He's not more talented than guys that you have coming in. Because there is a potential that your outfield now, hold on for just a quick moment. There are guys that are going to be coming in, not only from the high school ranks, but they're going to be guys that are coming in from the portal. And Jay's going to mismatch things. He's going to, definitely go through the fall and see what works. But guys, right now, I think Josh Pearson returns. I think that Jake Brown clearly and obviously he is going to be returning, and Ashton Larson. So that in and of itself, guys, you have those 3 positions locked down, and there's not one of them that Paxton Kling can take from any of them. Not one. And a lot of people, I've seen a lot of Josh Pearson slander. I get it. He doesn't, it is what it is. Paxton Kling can't start over him. And I think what you would have want to happen is that he would have. That Paxton, it would have been Jake Brown, Ashton Larson, and Paxton Kling. Other than Kling, though, I don't know if it's over with in reference to guys hitting the portal from LSU. I have not heard anything on Ethan Fry. I've had more people ask me about Ethan Fry than any other player on LSU's roster. I'm going to tell you at this current moment, I don't know. But there is somebody that I do know. And I put this on the forum today. You need to go over there and read it. I think and have heard that this situation with Brady Neal has become very intriguing. I would not be shocked if he stays. I would not. I might be a little shocked. Not shocked. I don't know the right word. I wouldn't be shocked if he stays. I would understand if he stays. I would not be shocked if he hit the portal. Not even remotely close. So I guess we wait for Brady Neal. And I think that one's going to be interesting. Now, you do have a pair of catchers that are going to be coming in from the high school ranks to LSU. Hopefully none of those guys get drafted and want to go. You also have Blaze Priester, who is going to be coming in from JUCO, who was a JUCO All-American. Was announced today that Priester, who had 20-plus home runs, I think 69 RBIs last year in JUCO, is going to be coming back to LSU as well. I just don't think that Brady Neal, I don't know if he will be back here. So you might have a potential where you had 3 catchers last year, 2 of them at minimum were in your everyday lineup with Travinsky DHing, to having a complete overhaul at that position. I want to admit something. I don't know if you've had in the last 2 years specifically, I don't think that you've had an overall good catcher like the kid that's at Kentucky. The catcher for Kentucky is an all-around great player. I don't know if you have that guy right now that's coming in, but we'll talk about one potentially in just a moment. Guys, I got to be honest with you. I don't think it's a big blow if Brady Neal does leave. You know the frustrations that I've had with him. I think he tries to pull everything too much. I think he tries to hit a home run every at bat. He never tries to go the other way with it. He never – it feels as if that he's always trying to do what's best for Brady Neal at the plate. If he does return, which I don't know if he is or if he isn't at this current exact moment, he's going to have to work a lot of things out. He's going to have to be better defensively. He lets too many things behind him. He tries to pull too much. He's going to have to start taking the ball the other way. He's going to have to get better defensively. So I don't know. Would I be shocked if he hit the portal? Absolutely not. I haven't been told if he is or if he isn't. Would I be shocked if he stayed? I don't. I would understand it. I don't know. Just wouldn't be shocking if he left. However, there was some big news today from the portal when it came to LSU baseball. Let me do this very quickly. Let me take a swig from my little jug here, because we've been in here for 46 minutes. And I hadn't been able to take a sip of water. Blaze Priester is somebody that can take over that position, but there is somebody else that LSU added today that could and has experience in college at catching, that being Luis Hernandez. That was the Indiana State transfer. Now I'm going to pull back up his comments here. Our comments, his stats here. But Indiana State transfer, Luis Hernandez, committed to LSU today. He confirmed it. He retweeted us. He's confirmed the news that he has. So has LSU. He had 359 last year for the Sycamores, 23 home runs, and 76 RBIs. As a freshman, he was a catcher. The 2 years ago, he DH'd a lot. And this year, he played first base and DH'd for the Sycamores. Hernandez is a draft-eligible guy that I think that we're going to have to pay very close attention to. I do think LSU feels very confident that he is going to be in Baton Rouge next season. That is why you take a guy like that right now. He is a guy that if you needed him to catch, he can. He has experience doing it. But you needed power. You needed hitting. Guys, Indiana State has really good baseball players. Now, the conference isn't the best. I will agree with you. But this kid hit 359 with 23 long balls and 76 RBIs. Of all of that, the average, and the home runs are big. The average and the RBIs for me are unbelievable. Guys, 76 RBIs. I mean, the kid is just really good at the plate. Let's see what happens. But it is a big, big time addition for the Tigers. I really hope that this one sticks. I really do. I would assume that LSU will be very competitive NIL-wise. Tell someone like Hernandez, listen, you come and play on a big stage like LSU, the draft spot that you would be in right now, you can get that up even more and make yourself more money. I think that that's a very big selling point to him. He's also out here being very vocal to people and showing, like, look, man, this kid really does want to be here. But a week from now, we can be saying that there is an MLB team that has contacted him, offered him this amount of money. We're going to have to monitor. I don't know what the kid's going to do. But at this current moment, let's act like he's going to be in Baton Rouge next year. It's one of the best power bats in the portal, and he's coming to LSU. This is what we discussed in reference to, okay, what we discussed in reference to when Jay has time to work and is in Omaha, that these kinds of things happen. It's not going to be over. I really, really, really believe that, and we'll start trying to get lists and guys that will be on campus this weekend. I think Jay's going to have a massive weekend in the portal. He's going to be hosting a lot of guys. I think that you need to be prepared for a very good weekend. I think this is the beginning. Now, you added two guys from the portal. You added Chandler Dorsey, who's a big-time arm that can come out of the pen for you, a clear back of the bullpen type of guy. You add a big power bat here. There are questions I have about Hernandez. What does he look like when he's in a conference like this? Because power's power. The clutch hitting that he has to drive in that many runs is a big deal. So, big-time addition for Jay today. Let's see what happens there. All right. We got a lot of comments flying in. Let's get to a couple of them before we hit a break and talk some football before we get out of here. Brandon Reese says, leaving bases loaded and not being able to take advantage of it costs LSU in a lot of games this year. Oh, yeah. Holden Lee says, watch out for Trevor Schmidt and Tanner Reeves, bro. Yeah. But let's just talk about it like this, too. Okay? Let me pull back up. Hold on. Oh, because I got it right here. We can run through some of these guys that Jay has coming in or could be having coming in from the 2024 class. Some of these guys aren't going to make it on campus. Guys like Connor Griffin. Connor Griffin's not making it on campus. I don't think Cam Caminetti's making it to campus. I don't think William Schmidt's making it to campus. I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, look, you got the Carrillo kid, the outfielder that's coming in. You have Boston and Bateman, I do think, comes in. Cal Fontaine. So, look, you do have, from a high school rank, a lot of power coming in. Like the Cal kid is 6'5", 229, at least what we have him. The Maverick Rizzi kid, the right-handed pitcher, 6'9", 225 from Massachusetts, about 95, 96, 97. He was last year. John Pearson. Look, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, they do have some guys from the high school ranks too that I do think that can come in and play. And look, we'll see what they continue to do in the portal. Todd Davis says Brady Neal is not good on defense. I couldn't agree more. Leslie Haygood says, how many LSU Tiger baseball players are transfer portal or going to the MLB this year? So I think that there's a strong possibility that you could have a complete, Leslie, a 15-guy turnover. You can have a 15-player turnover because your roster is 25 dudes. And that is, I mean, having 2/3 of your roster being turned over like that is Cole Adams says, Blake, I think you're spot on about Kling. Yeah, and there's not a lot of look, I have not heard of anybody saying anything negative about Kling. Come on, Holden. I literally said, yeah, and there are some other guys in high school that could contribute too. Come on, bro. Pete says Pearson is so good, and his brother will be here next year as well. Yeah, he will be. And John's got some power. He's got one big tool, with power. Blaine says, go get huge power in the portal to play first. Well, I mean, you do have that today. I mean, like if Bear Jones does leave, I mean, you do have a guy that has power that could play there, but does he leave? Oh, Holden. Brandon Graziano says I took it as him going to get big home run hitters. Baseball is changing back to the old way, gorilla ball. Yeah, and you know what's interesting, Brandon? He brought that up. He brought that up in reference to Jay. I think Cobble asked him something in reference to, is the game just going back to all home runs? And he said, well, he thought that the development at pitching has been bigger than the development that guys are at the plate. And I think he's right there. Guys, Bear Jones almost hit 30 home runs this year. Yeah, holding your ass, don't be listening. Y'all, you probably over there. What's that Boudin place? What's the Boudin place? You drunk and you ate too much from that Boudin place. All right, a couple more, then we'll get a transition here. Dane says the turnover will be large. Jay better enjoy building from the ground up, as he stated. He didn't state that. What he said is that he can't do that, Dane. He said, I mean, he can do that, but I mean, it's like, look, man, everybody's having like 10 to 15 guys leaving their program every year. That didn't used to be always the case. Yeah, Billy's. That's it. Your ass is drunk and been eating too much Billy's. All right. He's not going to Georgia, Dane. If Bear Jones isn't back next year, it's because he's in the draft. All right. Let me take a quick break. There are some players, football-wise, that are making some waves. We're going to talk about them when we come back. Let me reset. Let's talk about that in just a moment. Let's pay some bills. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Guys, you might know my good friend Carol Falls and all the great service that he provides over at State Farm. He is your good neighbor after all. But did you know State Farm has surprisingly great rates as well? Along with the great neighbor service, State Farm agent Carol Falls has surprisingly great rates for everyone inside the state of Louisiana. So call him today at 985-395-4300, 985-395-4300 for all of those surprisingly great rates on auto, home, and life insurance needs. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, and individual premiums will vary by customer. All applicants subject to the State Farm underwriting requirements.
by the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Whether you've been injured in an accident, you're preparing for a future with your estate planning, you're getting ready to close in on a real estate deal, or you're about to welcome a new addition through adoption into your family, or you're facing criminal charges, you need very experienced attorneys, and that is what the Drake Williams Law Firm will be able to do for you in navigating the legal system. The door to their cozy office in historic downtown Ponchatoula has been open since 1981. They have helped thousands and thousands of Louisiana families and individuals win cases, close on real estate deals, and regain that peace of mind. Their lawyers over at the Drake Williams Law Firm, Ernie Drake III, Ryan J. Williams, and Summer Vignair, are very determined, compassionate, and dedicated to their craft. It's the Drake Williams Law Firm, drakewilliamslawfirm.com. Give them a call today at 985-386-7600. Tell them your good friend Blake Ruffino at AYS sent you on by.
J&J has protected Louisiana homes and businesses for over 60 years.
Call him today, make the pests go away. J&J Exterminating. Yeah.
All right. Let's wrap it up with some guys that we're hearing. So, look, we're 11 days into June, and there are already some guys that have been turning some heads this summer for LSU football. In no specific order, yes, we're going to talk about some of the freshmen, and yes, I'm going to give you some times here that the staff shared with us on the track meter. Number one, and look, I'm going to use him at number one, and a lot of people are going to call me a homer because you know the connection I have with this young man. I do wonder if Chris Hilton Jr., the wide receiver from Zachary, is not building himself up to have a breakout year. You know, there's numbers coming out that he's running about 22 miles an hour. I've seen Chris. I mean, look, he looks like he's put on even more weight. You know, can Chris put that season together that we've been looking forward to him or looking forward for him to have? I do think that Chris did some really good things at the end of the year. Last year, I think he is a blazer, a guy that you can take the top off with, something that Garrett Nussmeier definitely wants to do next season, and getting the ball, pushing the ball down the field, which he did with Chris. If you remember last year in that 90-plus yard drive to beat Wisconsin, I do think that Chris Hilton has started to really emerge here in that room with not only just the talent that he possesses, but I think the biggest thing for me is, and especially – you know, just the personality that Chris is the leadership part, taking some guys under his wing, doing the extra work that needs to be done. I think that you have the leadership in that room right now, and I think it starts with him. Chris is a guy, when you talk to anybody on that staff right now, who has been putting in more work and giving it everything he's got this offseason. Look, it's his money year. And I do think that Chris has the chance and the ability to really show what he has. So of the five guys that we're going to talk about here, the first one is going to be Chris Hilton Jr. Number two is Caden Durham. So we talked about Caden Durham last night, and I thought that Carter Bryant, who was on our show, said something interesting, that nobody had the production at running back in high school that, other than Leonard Fournette, that came to LSU more than Caden Durham, which statistically is true. Look, I think that there's been an emphasis with someone like Caden Durham in reference to learning pass protection. You know, the other day I was told that he had been working overtime, already processing what he would need to do in pass protection if certain situations were called, if the line was sliding this way on this play call. Whatever the situation may be, he had already been putting in that work. I think the biggest thing for me with Caden Durham is just the home run ability that he possesses. Look, you're talking about a guy over 200 pounds who showed last year that he has home run speed, home run track type of speed, that doesn't have an issue with running in between the tackles. I am very interested to see in week 1 versus USC, does he get touches? Now, it would be his first game. It's against USC. I don't know. But here's what I do know, is that since the first day that Caden Durham has stepped on campus, the first thing and the thing that he continues to work on is what he needs to do in pass protection. When you get young running backs like that, I think it's always very interesting the things that they work on. That's the number one thing that he's working on. And what I would say is if he comes in and is able to, I'm not saying he's got to be good. I'm not saying he's got to be great, but does enough in the pass game from a pass protection aspect, the kid's going to see a lot of reps because he can catch the ball out of the backfield. He's highly explosive. He's tough. I think that he, out of anybody, offensively, when it comes to freshmen, has more of a chance to be somebody that we see quickly in that rotation more than any of them. Your offensive line solidified. I don't think that Colin Hurley at any point next season, other than when you play against teams like Nichols, is he going to touch the field. I don't know of any other freshmen outside of maybe even Weston Davis. If somebody goes down along the offensive line, I hope that they don't. Weston Davis could potentially step in. He's actually going to be on the honorable mention on this list. But I do think that he's going to see a lot of time because you need him to, and he's too talented to keep on the sideline. Number 3, there's been a lot of talk about Acadiana defensive tackle Dominic McKinley. We've talked about him, and we talked about him this week already, and it's only Tuesday. Here's what I'll say about the talented freshman. There are a lot of people, when you talk to them at football ops, when you talk to just teammates, that he is someone that has turned some heads because I think of the work ethic that he's had in the weight room. The work ethic that he's had is not like a typical freshman. I am going to be, or try to be, very realistic here. I think out of necessity, he's going to have to see a lot of snaps. I have a young one beating on the door, or by the door, excuse me. My baby girl is by the door. At least I could hear her. And being realistic about Dominic McKinley, I don't know what to expect. Now, there's a lot of chatter about him. A lot of chatter about him. I don't know what we're going to get. If you ask me today, Blake, when the gates open in August, where's the first place you're going? It's defensive tackle. Not remotely close. Because I do think that he's got to play. I want to see Paez. I want to see Suggs. But I want to see McKinley because there's no more talk coming out of football ops more than Dominic McKinley through 11 days in June. No, none. Guys, I legitimately, from the eye, Blake, during the show, have gotten something else about Dominic McKinley. I don't want to put too much on his shoulders. I think that's highly unfair, and I, to some extent, think it's highly unrealistic. If he lives up to even half of what has come out about him from football ops, he's going to be in your 2 deep rotation, and he's going to see a lot of playing time. I don't know if I'm there yet. I need to see him in August. I need to see him with pads on. I need to see him go up against Garrett Dellinger. I need to see him go up against Miles Frazier. I need to see him go up against DJ Chester, who is my number 4 here. I don't know. I don't know. And do I think ultimately the ability that he has is he's going to be a good defensive tackle for you here at LSU? Yes. Do I think it's unfair to put this much on his shoulders with everything that everybody's talking about right now? Yes. I don't think that it's fair. All right, number 4, DJ Chester. So DJ Chester is somebody interesting. So look, it would be easy for me to come out here, and I think it would be the cliche thing to come out here and say, look, well, Campbell continues to, develop. Emory Jones, those 2 guys are having really good off seasons so far. They're doing really well. I think the most crucial piece to your offense that doesn't get talked about enough is DJ Chester. the work that he has put in, I think he's obviously and clearly got the work ethic to get in the weight room and get bigger and get stronger and get faster. I think the biggest thing about DJ Chester, what everybody has continued to tell or talk to me about, has been just the smart things that he has done. The football IQ is higher than I think that they originally initiate or thought that they were getting him, even though he comes from a long family pedigree of football guys. DJ Chester is a guy that, man, when you have an anchor in the middle at center, your entire offensive line can change. Guys, look at Lloyd Cushenberry. When you have that anchor in the middle that can not only make right calls, get guys into right positions, it changes things. Now, you had one last year in Charles Turner, who, guys, was, talk to anybody in the NFL. They told you that on the board, Charles Turner is the smartest guy at center in the draft that you have. He didn't have the ability, though, that DJ Chester has. 6'6", 300-plus pounds, that can really move. He can move the guard if he needed to. DJ Chester is a guy that I continue to hear that the football IQ is, to them, picked up from the spring. It's taken a next step, and you needed to hear that from your center. Number 5, and the last one here, is Harold Perkins. Now, this is a very cliche one, and it's easy for me to come out here and talk about Perk. I think Harold Perkins is going to be a lot better this year, because I think that what's going to happen here is that, yes, is he a hybrid? Sure. Hybrids can work. But I think the connection that he will have with Blake Baker and what he will utilize him in doing is going to be a lot better. Guys, I've heard people about Park putting on weight. I've heard there are some things going on. I think that Park needed to get back locked in. But since he's been back on campus, I've heard a lot of good things. I think the most interesting thing that we should look at when those doors open up and football really gets moving here in August, how good is Perkins in the middle? Because if you can utilize that talent and he takes the next step at Will Backer, guys, you're going to be a lot better defensively, and there's no telling where you can go. He's going to be challenged. And for a guy in his money year, I think reality has set in. I think reality has set in reference to where he's at. I think that when you talk about somebody that needs to get things going, nobody needs to get things going more than him. I'm interested. It's also easy to say Perkins. I think he's finally coming around in reference to being in the inside. He's not going to be there every play. He's not going to be there every snap. You're going to move him around. But I think that when we look at him, he's somebody that we need to touch on. Okay. Brandon Reese says, I heard that Ahmad Bro's up to 285 pounds. Yeah, and then he moved to DT. Guys, I think that's out of necessity too. 30 pounds, that's a lot of weight to gain. Let's see how that kid does. All right. Anthony says, hashtag ask Blake, your thoughts on Auburn D-line commit set to visit LSU this weekend. Look, I will continue to say this, and Anthony, just go over to the forum. I'm pretty sure we wrote about that, so I'm going to leave that a little open-ended so people can go over there and read it. Let's see. I think that you sit in a better place this right now than you did at any point last year with that many quantity of defensive linemen. I'm feeling good about what Bo Davis is doing. We have not recruited this well in the interior of the defensive line in quite a while. Now you got to start getting some commits publicly. But we'll see. Let's see. Deltona says, not to get ahead of myself, but I can't wait for Harlan Berry. Looks like such a unique talent in both run and pass game. 100%. Kid's been going off on 7-on-7. Going off. I agree. All right. We'll see y'all again tomorrow. Y'all have a good one. Peace.